Now, I've heard some people say, like, how is it that the Bible talks about some of those events in, like, the book of Genesis or in the book of Job, for example, if they were written so long after those events actually happened? And you can find the answer over here in the book of John, chapter 14, verse 26, where it says, "But the Helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things and bring to your remembrance all that I have said to you." So the answer to that question is the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is the one who gives the authors of the Bible the things to say. So we're not depending on the intellect and the memory of the authors of the Bible to actually have all this information. It's all coming from God himself. And now maybe you have another issue now. Maybe you're one of those people that don't believe in the spiritual. Maybe you don't believe that people can actually receive communication from not only the spiritual, but maybe you don't believe people can receive communication from God himself. Now, the practice of receiving communication from the spiritual realm, it's been done for thousands of years by mediums and psychics, spiritualists, and like psychographers, or whatever you call them. What makes you think that if psychographers and mediums and psychics, if they can receive information from the demonic, deceptive realm, then what makes you think that the biblical authors couldn't have received that information from God himself? I want you to think about it like this. Now, a critic could look at like the book of Genesis and say, how did Moses write all those things about Noah's flood and about all those other things if he was born so long after those events? To which I would respond to you and say that, but I would say, how did the author of the book of Job write that the earth is suspended over nothing when the knowledge about how the earth is actually just in space floating around, when that knowledge only came about thousands of years after that person's life? At the time that that person wrote that, they didn't know that the earth was just hanging on nothing. At that time, people thought that the earth was like on top of a turtle shell or something like that. But the author of Job knew that the earth is suspended over nothing. How did they know that if they wrote it thousands of years before that scientific knowledge was made widely known? Once again, for the same reason that Moses knew about the occurrences in the book of Genesis, because of the Holy Spirit. And also, how did the author of Genesis know that the universe had a beginning when they wrote that the universe was created? When they wrote that during a time when everybody thought that like the universe was made from like a battle from demigods or something like that. But how do they know that when they wrote it thousands of years before modern science tells us that the universe did in fact have